You know, as board members of your association, you have so much that you have to do in your normal jobs. So I really appreciate you taking just a couple of minutes to look at what we're talking about with your association. You know, there's a law in physics that says if you can affect 1% of the mass, you can affect the mass. And if you said, what's the 1% that we could impact that would have the greatest impact on our revenue and our business, in our opinion, it has to be the sales managers. You know, we work with sales staffs all over the country, and I can tell you that most every sales staff has a couple of great stars, a couple of people who are okay, maybe some people who are on their way up in their career, and maybe one or two people who should probably be considering other career options. The difference in performance, it's always about the leader. Janet Lapp, a psychologist and colleague of mine in the National Speakers Association, says,
when a ship misses the harbor, it's seldom the harbor's fault.
And so we built this Leader's Edge program specifically to help sales managers get better. There are three pieces, and let me talk about them each really briefly. The big weekly piece is a weekly 3,000 to 5,000 word email where we cover a lot of subjects on how to make somebody a better sales manager. We'll talk about how to make sales meetings pop, how to deal with a veteran who really doesn't want to play in the new ideas in new areas. How do you recruit? How do you motivate a team? How do you deal with underperformers? Each of these meetings, and there's a list in the packet that you've seen, each of these emails is just fully extensive and very involved. And so that's part one. And we send that out every week to every member of our Leader's Edge program. This is like a mini course on sales management on a weekly basis. The second piece of our Leader's Edge is one that I'm very proud of and very excited to present to people. Every year, 4 to 5 times a year, we find some of the most thought-provoking people who have written best-selling books, and they deliver exclusively for our members teleseminars that are just amazingly powerful. Just a few weeks ago, we had Mark Sanborn. If you know Mark's name, it's because he wrote the New York Times best-selling book, The Fred Factor. And he did a full session on leadership that was unbelievably great.
Leadership's hot right now. You know, it's always been a kind of an evergreen topic, but it's very popular because everybody wants to be a leader. The problem is very few people want to do the hard work of leadership. You know, it's like everybody wants to be a rock star, nobody wants to learn to play guitar.
My biggest takeaway from that, paying attention to our MVPs, the most valuable priorities. How do we spend our time that will have the greatest impact on our business's revenue? We did Jack Canfield. Jack, the co-author of The Chicken Soup for the Soul, did a session on personal achievement and goal setting that, you know, for me was just an amazing experience. And about once a year, we'll actually do a session where we invite the managers to bring all their teams together, and we'll have a sort of special training thing. Earlier this year, we did Anthony Perinella, who wrote this amazing book called Selling to Vito, and Vito stands for Very Important Top Officer, who talked about how do you get to the top decision maker of an organization. This session was hilariously funny, but just loaded with content. In fact, at one point he said, you know, if you're in a building working with a company and you look down at the floor and there's linoleum, you're in the wrong office. Get out of Linoleumville, was one of my takeaways from that conference. So we do the weekly emails, we do these amazing high-powered teleseminars, and then the third piece is the opportunity for one-on-one coaching with sales managers. 4 to 5 times a year, we take a full day, and I don't do anything that day except to talk to members of this group. And those are one-on-one conversations that sometimes can get very personal and very engaged. How do you take a team that's okay and make them better? How do you find the new pieces of opportunity? And people can call and talk about anything at all, from how to deal with a challenging client to how to deal with a challenging AE. And these sessions, they're some of the most fun days of the year. Well, we appreciate your consideration. This is a program that when the Missouri broadcasters took on this program 2 years ago, Don Hicks now tells it is their absolute favorite, most highly rated program of all of the things they offer to their members. And I think the reason for that is it's very real world. It is extremely focused on making sales managers better, and it truly is one of those things that, for a small investment, has the potential to make people better. If you can affect 1% of the mass, you can affect the mass. And the group that I think we really need to work on, the group that is so responsible for our organization's performance, is the quality of our sales managers. So, Jim Doyle here. Thanks for taking some time to look at our program. We really appreciate your spending some time with us.